All right, we are live now. So first of all, thank you so much. Thank you for being on the panel today. Son from US, Zo from Myanmar, and Jayant from India. So today we are having the 19th episode of I Can Govern Insights. It's primarily a citizens alliance for new governance, and we started it a year ago. It's basically an independent collective which sort of engages in local governance initiative, primarily for outcome-oriented issues with organizations, individuals, and institutions which are willing to work on such issues. And today we have a very, very special panel of 3 young, energetic, and emerging change makers on the issue which involves us all. No work is small or big. And the reason why we have invited these 3 people is the fact that they learned everything that life threw at them. Work that makes many in our societies cringe about. They took as lessons of life, and not only that, they use them to strengthen their individual ladder to greater glory. Please join me once again in welcoming Son Severson, Hkwang, and Jayant Vatsa. Let me give a brief introduction about our guest today and our host today. So first of all, Son is originally from Louis, Missouri, USA. He has an undergrad in history from Southern Illinois University and a master's in international relations from Zhejiang University, China. He has worked on a wide range of jobs, starting with retail, construction, lawn care, while he was in the college in the US. And when I was in China, he taught English, did editing work. And my first interaction with Son was when we were in China. We were having some informal interaction. I think we were sort of just standing out in the lawn. That's what we used to do most of the time. And that was possibly the first time we had this wonderful interaction. And I asked Son, what is it? What things you have done? And that, he said, I used to be a grass cutter at one point of time. It was, I think, 6 years ago, 5 to 6 years, 5 to 6 years ago almost. And that one small informal conversation is what sort of is bringing us today together on this panel. So thanks, Son, once again for getting up early in the morning and joining us from -2-degree temperature in central US. That's what we were just having this informal conversation a few minutes back. We also have Zo today. Zo is from Myanmar. Zo is basically, he has done a lot of things, Zo is, I think, one person who was sort of full of energy in our entire batch when we were in China. We were classmates at one point of time. So Zo was the most energetic guy. He was always full of energy. And he has been into a lot of social work. He is currently a next generation leader at the McCain Institute. And he was placed at the Los Angeles Mayor's Office of International Affairs in the US. He has traveled across the world, especially in Asian countries, and has been involved in community building efforts all across the world. And Zo, by the way, I think another thing about Zo is that he's a frequent traveler, and he has been working in all sorts of social issues since very, very early age. And he has kept this passion. I keep interacting with Zo, and whenever I make a phone call to him, it's like he leaves you bumbling with energy, and that sort of keeps reverting back. So thank you, Zo, as well, once again. We also have today on the panel our very own Jayant Vatsa. Jayant is from Darbhanga, Bihar, and he is with I Can Govern, very active since the beginning. And Jayant has an interest in science. By the way, he has equal amount of interest in all sorts of other things, including especially social services. He loves to write poems. He sings songs. He also has interest in cooking. And I think he proudly says that, I used to help my mother in household work and, that sort of thing. So he takes everything as a job. So he loves to quote Mahatma Gandhi, work is worship. So Jayant, again, once again, welcome. So to talk to you three guests, we have Arya Dev today and Nikita Jha as well. Arya Dev, he claims to be an ordinary boy, but he's anything but an ordinary person. He's an extraordinary person. And the best thing about this extraordinary person is that he is sort of ready to give flight to the dreams of people from most vulnerable communities through an initiative he has started by the name of Udan, which actually means flight. So his Udan initiative is a budding initiative. I'm sure that in coming years, many people will be benefiting from this initiative. He has been with ICANGOVERN for almost a year now, since the very beginning. He also has a bachelor's in history and an LLB from University of Delhi. He has been a junior advocate in the Supreme Court of India and the High Court of Patna for nearly 5 years. And after that, he has been involved in a career of which basically spans through governance, policy advocacy, and sustainability. He currently works with the UN Global Impact Network India as a program analyst. So thank you, Aradev. And we have also with us on the panel Nikita Jha. Nikita is currently based in Pune. She has done graduation from MScu Vadodara in political science and has a postgraduate degree from Pune University in public policy administration. And she's into teaching. She has also worked with NGOs, and she has a host of other interests as well. So thank you, Nikita, once again. So now, without much ado, it has been some time. I would like to invite Son to start talking about his experience and keep exciting us with his wonderful stories. Son, it's all yours. You can have it.
Thank you very much for having me on today. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to be here today and kind of discuss. But a little bit of background about me is that I'm originally from the United States, and I have an undergraduate in history from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and a master's in international relations from Zhejiang University in Hangzhou, China. But one thing that I did as an undergraduate to make ends meet was I used to work a number of jobs in the fields of construction, lawn care, and also in retail in the United States. And basically, from those, I've become quite skilled with a lot of basic trades, including like carpentry, woodworking, metalworking, things like that. And I know one big point of discussion that can be made is how those types of jobs are looked at on a global setting based on society or the culture of the place that you live and work in. And I would say in the U.S. that these jobs are generally rather well paying overall, because as an unskilled laborer, I was making $10 to $15 an hour working in both construction and lawn care. And as you progress, you make considerably more. But one thing I liked about the jobs is that, yes, the majority of people that work these jobs, I would say, are generally low education, low income, and compared to the course or trajectory I was going as a university student. But at the same time, there's a lot of pride and I think confidence people have in these jobs because they provided a lot of key services. And there's definitely kind of more of a social, I wouldn't say class system, but kind of a social perspective on these types of jobs versus more high-end jobs. But I would not say people don't necessarily look down on these types of professions, because a lot of them can make a lot of money. For example, like in the St. Louis area, if you are a licensed carpenter, you can make up to $45 to $50 an hour. So some of them make $90,000, $100,000 a year. So a lot of these professions, actually, you can make a lot of money. It can be a lot of hard work and a lot of time and effort, but you can definitely make a lot of money. And what I thought was kind of funny was when I was working these jobs, I was actually making more money than a lot of my peers in college working other typical college jobs in the U.S. that, like serving or other for serving on campus jobs. So it was kind of an interesting, correlation that, okay, I'm working these jobs, which are not really geared for university people or people that are pursuing university. But at the same time, you make a little more money and you get exposed to different skill sets. And I would say the people I met definitely, I was perhaps the youngest person at one of my jobs, but also the most educated. But the people I worked with, they were very interesting, and you learn a lot of interesting dialogue, I would say terminology from people in certain social classes in the U.S. So it definitely is interesting, but at the same time, I came away quite, quite like more well-rounded in the sense that you kind of can deal with a lot of people with different professions. So now in my current position, it definitely helps when I'm dealing with people, a wider range of people. But I would say that in the U.S., I think that the mainstream consensus about people working is that if you're working hard and you're pursuing something, that's respectable and people will commend you from that. There's always going to be a sense of like, some people look down on some things versus other things. But I would say that generally, there's not really a big there's not a big issue with people working those types of jobs and people looking down or having negative feelings toward them. But it really is, at the end of the day, kind of on a person-to-person basis. But I would say one thing in the U.S. that we definitely value really well, and this is kind of coming out of, I think, more of kind of the frontier and our history, is a term that I like to call rugged individualism. Basically is that you don't wait for society or the group to make changes to help you or to improve. You take the initiative and do that yourself. So those are definitely some things that I definitely see with a lot of people. Now, granted, there's a lot of lazy people out there too. I'll be the first to admit that. But a lot of people definitely embody that concept from my work experience. But I think it's actually a very good thing to kind of expand upon different skill sets, because, for example, now, like if I want to buy a house in the future, I know a lot of the skills I can do to either build a house or repair a house, and I will not have to pay anyone to do that. And I can save both money and then just use my own time to do those types of things that other people would have to pay someone for, since they do not have that knowledge or ability.
Well, by the way, Son, we were having this interaction informally with you, and I think, well, you said that it pays a lot, but I mean, do you also see a situation where, I mean, basically people in India in particular, and many countries, I believe, they see some certain work as that they should be not doing, maybe, or that sort of thing?
There is definitely that school of thought here, but I would say it's not that heavy. But it really depends on the family basis. Like, of all my friends in college, I was really the only one to kind of go into this line of work. Others didn't, but I don't think it was because they were like opposed to it. It's just because they were doing other things. But at the same time, I know some people that they would never consider doing these types of jobs. But for me, it was like, well, it pays well. I can learn something. I think that's a win-win. But it's really on a case-by-case basis. But generally, I would say from my experiences, there's not a wide scale, negative outlook on these types of positions. Now, granted, a lot of people will tell their kids, yeah, you can do this as a part-time job during college to make extra money, but this is not what I want you doing for your career. So it's really,
I mean, is there anything like, well, possibly doing all sorts of things sort of helps you learn a lot of things, teaches you, helps you stay close to nature? Is there anything like that as well?
Oh, definitely. Like, especially with lawn care, like you learn about how to maintain a lawn, you learn how to take care of plants and other things, and other things that you can have as a household here in the U.S. On your property. So there's a lot of, I'd say, definitely exposes you to a lot of skill sets that you would not be exposed to if you simply like go to college, get into a corporate job or some type of other, more mainstream job that college graduates do. So I think most people should at least learn some of those things or do some of those things, even though if it's not something they want to do long term. It definitely, in my case, it's taught me a lot of things that I find are very useful, especially like with my own apartment. Like if something breaks, I can fix some of those things. I don't need to call anyone. And it also opens you up to different people and how they subsist and how they prosecute their lives and their trades.
Thank you. We'll come back to you with maybe some questions which have come already throughout different channels. Zo, if you can unmute yourself, and I think we would like to listen to you now. Zo. His screen is frozen. Maybe. Zo, can you hear me? I think you need to unmute.
He said he was having some issues, I think.
Yeah, maybe. By the way, I think I'd like to tell those who are listening to us right now is that Zo is from Myanmar, and the situation in Myanmar is very bad these days because of political unrest, because of all sorts of things. So we'll try to get back to Zo once again, once he's able to talk to us. Meanwhile, let's come back to Jayant. Jayant is from Darbhanga, Bihar, and I've already introduced him. He's a very energetic guy. Let's get some of his energy transferred to all of us. Jayant.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Tilak, for having me here. And I don't think I deserve all those kind words you have showered upon me as well. And about my brief, why I'm nervous, I don't know. Okay, I will take my time. Okay, so the thing is, I have done my BTech, Bachelor of Technology in Engineering, and I'm currently working at Amazon Go as senior data analyst. And actually, Amazon Go is only in US right at this time. So I work in PST timings, like at night shifts only. And apart from that, Sean was saying things like, okay, he have been trained in many things like carpentry and all. So in engineering, in the first year, we have the workshops, different workshops in which we work with machines, machine learning. It's like then we also do carpentry, then smithy, blacksmithy, you see, then sheet works, sheet metal works, and all sort of works. So at that moment, I got to know that all the things are equally important and necessary for an engineer as well, and for an individual also. Because what Sean said, I am totally agree with him. Like if you are going to have a home or you are constructing a home, you should know simple aspects of them, about bricks, about cements, about all the interiors and design, so that it will not cost you so much, and you will be aware of the things they uses. So and talking about myself, like in childhood, I used to help my mother in doing her household jobs, and I learned cooking, and it fascinates me. Like I'm a food loving people, I'm a foodie, and so I try to experiment with foods, and I love that. Like when I go to my village, and there in the farm fields, I use the shovel to plow the fields. I have plucked the mangoes from the mango trees. In the summers, we have their orchards of mangoes. I used to climb there, we plucked the mangoes, we gathered it. So I have done those things, and I think that these things are equally important. But there is a big difference in the US and India. Like if you are doing those things in India, if you are cutting grass in India, then it's like, okay, so you must be illiterate, you are doing this, or you have no other qualifications to do any other things, so that you are doing this. Like in India, you always say in India 70% of India is dependable upon agriculture. But if you will ask a youth to go in the fields to opt for agriculture, they will not. Why? Because the difference is, they think that only farmers are illiterate only. There is no science to farming, you see. There may be tractors and combines working in the fields. There may be technologies which are helping farmers to grow more crops and to earn more revenues. But then also we think that it's primitive. Like bullocks are plowing the fields. It's not like bullocks are plowing the field at these moments. It's all machine things now. But nobody is trying to at least get into it. Why? Because there's this difference, and this need to be changed at urgent basis. I don't know how it will going to change, or it will change or not, but at least for the sake of good, it must change. And I don't feel any shame in doing all those things. Rather, I can be a corporate guy, but in village, I am a villager. I'm a village guy. So the transformation is very important. You have to adapt to the situations and to the surroundings and do all the transformations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayant. I'm sure Jayant has a lot to tell. He is a very shy today, maybe. So we'll get more out of Jayant in a few minutes. Zo, can you hear me? Zo, your screen is frozen. Maybe you can try. Maybe keep yourself. Stop your video and try once again. Because we can't hear you. Whenever you're able to speak, just speak something. Once we hear, we'll have you.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Go ahead then.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
I can hear you clearly, actually.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead. You can speak.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, my dear friend. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Tilak, for allowing me to participate this very productive to discuss about very productive topic. And if I might have to highlight one thing, I might have to highlight two things. First is the power of volunteer, and the other is helping other, right? So when I was in Los Angeles mayor office of the international affairs, but because of the COVID and everything has changed, and we have to work from home, and there was nothing much that I can do in person. And then suddenly, I lost and I couldn't contact with anybody. And then later on, I decided to do something because I promised to myself that the reason why I came to the United States is to learn from them and to do something about it, for them to place me at this prestigious office. And then I wanted to do something, but there was nothing left to do. But later on, I found out that the other department, the census department, they were doing something called the online, banking, calling all the residents of Los Angeles, to pay the census, right? So census is very important for the United States because 2020 was very important for the United States to conduct census because every 10 years that data of the census. And then I joined just because they gave me the assignments where you have that for your resident. But what happened is that once I called them, everybody thought this is like a COVID scheme, or people think that I'm trying to lie to them, stuff like that. I feel a lot of pressures and situation faced, but I keep calling them, and later on, because McCain Institute, I have to do, because McCain Institute has informed me that I have to do another training, right? Because they switched in-person training to what I can, why I was in the room because of the COVID. I'm not allowed to go around. But later on, the Census Bureau had contacted me later that the I am the what they call it top census caller, which means I'm the one who call all those residents of the Los Angeles the most. So over nearly 200 residents. Sometimes we think that that's nothing I can do, but but there was a massive opportunity out as well, even in the midst of crisis COVID-19, like a pandemic. And I always wanted to help the Los Angeles office, but I can't do it in person. But there was the chance that I can do through online. So it's really helped later on the mayor office of the Los Angeles, the international affair office. They contact me and they were saying that how grateful are because of the thing that I've done. So, and the other thing is that back home in Myanmar, before I went to United States, back home in Myanmar, I was helping the drug user troublemakers, and look down on them. They face lots of discrimination and stigmatizations, and nobody, won't really help them. But what I see is there are a lot of the for with with dignity, with some respect, but people really don't allow them. Nobody really want to call them. Nobody want to hire them. So I came with this idea that if I make a bridge for them, that could really regain the trust from their society, from their. So I run this project called Empowering Rehabilitated Drug Users for Employment. So what I do is that I contact all the employee former users. They are from my training centers. They are detoxes now, and they have become a very good person now. What they want is a decent job. Would you like to hire them? Yes, but you don't have to hire them as the informal employees. I want to pay all the money. I want to pay them the salary. I want to pay them all the wages. Just let them. Just let them work at your factory, at your company. But after 1 month, if you see that the progress have been doing as employees, and after 3 months, and what they see is that they see enormous progress that the employee scenes. And then later on, I run that press conference and tell everybody that drug users, the former drug users trustable, former drug users can make a decent life. Former drug users, we should really help them, with some dignity, who worthy of second chance. And the next day, a lot of employee, they were scenes like I have never seen former drug user can change. So one is the power of volunteerism, and the other is that even though the community seems still a group of people, at some moment with passion, then I really believe that everybody will follow you. Everybody will see you transformation that they make, and we should really not give up the things that we believe in simply because people think that it's not gonna working.
Okay, Zo, I believe that we are facing a lot of audio issues from your end.
Not sure whether you guys heard me or not, but I just keep talking and sharing with you guys.
Yeah, maybe I think you can keep your video off next time you try to speak or interrupt. For now, I'm keeping the floor open. So anybody, I think whatever, if you have got questions, Dev, Nikita, any interruption, even from Son or Jayant, please go ahead. Yeah, Ardev, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Zo, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Zo, if you have more to add. I think whenever Zoe speaks, whoever else is speaking, just try to give him space as much as possible.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
sure.
please go ahead.
Yeah, so as I gathered from whatever Sean or Jayant or Zo came up with, is that there has to be passion. I want to know what is the primary driver and or what drives you. I understand, that passion is there. As Zo was saying, passion and volunteering your bit as a part of your social responsibility. And as Jan said, that desire to learn something new during your leisure time. or as Son said, taking up jobs or learning skills as you need to put food on the table or make some extra money. So, what is the primary driver? Also, in India or Asia, where manual labor is cheap, it is really looked down upon. So, how do you handle jeers? Friends and relatives ridiculing you is a question that is open to all of you. Yeah.
I have a couple of thoughts on that, and because, like I mentioned previously, luckily I didn't encounter a lot of that. But I would say that historically speaking, if you go back 50, 100 years in the U.S., I would say it definitely was more the case that low wages were much lower, and people working those types of jobs were definitely looked down upon. But as time has progressed, the wages have gone up, and there's been more, I think, acceptance, understanding for those types of jobs. Although I have faced some criticism from when I was still an undergrad from other college students saying, like, "You're doing what? You're doing these jobs?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I tell them, well, and I ask them, "Well, what are you guys doing?" And they say, "Oh, I'm doing this at a gas station, or I'm working in an office here on campus, or something like that." And they're like, "Oh, how much money do you make?" And I tell them, they're like, "You make that much money doing that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, and they were really surprised. And I'm like, and it's like, "Well, I thought you couldn't make that much money." I'm like, "No." And even if I graduate and still work these jobs, potentially I could make more than you if I'm skilled, because, and that is an interesting phenomenon here, is that some of these people actually end up making more than college graduates if they become very skilled in certain niche areas of, like carpentry, construction, or repair. I worked with one gentleman, his hourly rate was $50 an hour plus anything else. So I think that's kind of interesting. But I think another factor that is that, people may look down on those jobs because they don't really know them that well. And I think that in the U.S., it's become more socially accepted, but at the same time, there's just not a lot of exposure by a lot of the population who has nothing to do with these types of jobs. So, and I think another thing is what Jayant was saying, and also what Zal was saying, is that a lot of this is definitely because, okay, I want to learn more skills, I want to become more adept at different types of things, and at the same time, I'm also passionate about it because these jobs may seem very menial, but they're actually quite satisfying because you're providing services, you're helping people, you're meeting people. And like where I used to live in the U.S., I would drive around and say, "Oh, I helped build that building," or "Oh, I helped take care of that." So it's kind of that reinforcing factor of like, wow, I could contribute it to my hometown, to society, and to people. And at the same time, I've been monetarily compensated and gained from that.
By the way, Son, I think there's one thing that comes to my mind. I think it is one way to consider a job good or bad, or for that matter, for economic reasons. Even if it doesn't pay sufficiently, if it won't have paid maybe $50 or higher than other jobs, should we consider any job just because it happens to be something which society considers not to be like this is standard or that is standard, like that? I think that is the more fundamental question. You did raise the point that, well, it sort of gives you satisfaction, you're helping people. Volunteering per se, we are doing anyway all sorts of work. Volunteering is about that. You're basically doing everything despite being trained for nothing. So that sort of thing.
And you hardly get paid.
Yeah.
When you're volunteering for something, you do not get paid. You do not get compensated for it. So that's entirely a different ballgame. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, volunteering is great, but I've noticed that some organizations or whatever you want to call them, they offer volunteering and everything, and that's great. But at the end of the day, I may want to volunteer sometimes, but as a college kid, most college kids in the U.S. don't have a lot of money because they can only work so much because they're taking a lot of courses. They may want to volunteer, but they also have to consider, okay, I need to make ends meet. I need to make enough money to get through this month and pay my tuition and fees, because tuition and fees in the U.S. are very high. But there's definitely kind of the practical side versus the more optimistic side. I want to volunteer and help, but at the same time, I need money. So, I did my fair share of volunteering, but at the same time, I definitely worked more because I had to. And I think a lot of people face this, and I know a lot of people who there's this debate in their head, like, I want to do this, but I need money. But some of these things I want to do, all they offer is volunteering, nothing, no compensation, which I understand, but at the same time, I don't think it's that practical.
I would like to add few things from the perspective of South Asia, especially India. Like Sean, you see, there is a difference between the youths of US and India. Like in US, if you are an adult, okay, so if you are 15 years old or 16 years old or above, then you try to earn your livelihood, like working in a gas station, working as a pizza delivery boy or anything. But in India, the scenario is something different. In India, they are dependable upon their parents, the sole earner, and they will give them their pocket money. So they don't work for their pocket money, and that's why the classification of work is like, okay, he is doing this type of jobs and it is not suitable for a person who is a student. If a student will go in a carpentry shop, then his relative will mock him. He will say that, okay, so this is your study, so you are studying in a carpentry shop, so this is the difference. And answering what Aryadev said and asked the question, like from where you feel that you should do this or not, it's about what you think, not about what society should think or what they think it's good or bad. If we will change ourselves, our way of life, how I want to lead it. And third part is volunteering. That's a different thing, totally different thing. Like, okay, so it's like a service you will be not paid for, so it's up to you if you want to join it or not. So that's the different thing. But if somebody is earning from a carpentry or from doing anything, mopping the floor, so it should be respected as well. The thing is, why they should not get respect? Why taking a lakh or rupees, or you can say $1 million package is only considered as okay, so he's good or he's earning well? Why don't a sweeper salary is considered at okay, at least he's earning, he's not begging. The difference you see, he's trying to earn his livelihood, he's trying to support his family and himself. He's a dignified life, so he's equally he should be equally respected.
By the way, I think there is one interesting thing that also needs to be taken into account is that, well, if you do it out of compulsion, that's a different thing. Many people do it, they have to do it. In India, in America, in almost every country, we have such a situation. But I think what the society does, well, in India's case, or for that matter, I believe in most developing countries' case, it pays most of such jobs, especially, doesn't pay sufficiently. So that market factor is possibly missing, one. And second thing, there is also that, well, even if you are doing it because of whatever situation, or even if you're doing it as part of volunteering willingly, then also people will say, why the hell you are doing such a thing? That, I believe, is a greater problem. What do you think, Nikita? What do you have to say? I mean, also,
Yeah,
I'm sure
actually, I was about to speak. So, yeah, I actually have experienced this thing in my life that I started working at an age of 17. So, yeah, that was because of the family issue that I had to earn for myself. But I think that it's not more about the society, because when you individually decide to do something for yourself or for your family, so it's more about your mental condition and how you handle it. So when you decide to do something and you feel good about it, I don't think that society matters a lot. But yes, society at some point it like tries to break you and like you put you in that mental condition that you can destroy yourself. But yes, at that point you have to handle yourself, and it's all about your individual thinking. And when you start like from yourself, as Sean has already mentioned about individualism. So when you individually start something or initiate something, then people around you also start supporting you and motivating you. That's what I believe, and I have experienced that in my life because I myself have explored so many like opportunities and different career options. So I have experienced that in my life, and I have got enough support that I don't believe that society is that much a barrier. So you have to initiate that change around you. And now I don't think that any job is big or small. Like whatever makes you feel good, And whatever is satisfying you, you should do that. It's not more about the society. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think this is a very important point. By the way, I think one thing that also comes to my mind when Nikita was saying is that there are so many professions which today we consider as very normal, were considered very abnormal not very long ago. So I think if you, for that matter, today, yesterday there was this news about one girl who has one beauty pageant. She was the daughter of, she's the daughter of, her father is, she's from Mumbai. Her father drives auto rickshaw, and she has made it big. For that matter, I think all sorts of profession, you name it, business for that matter, at one point of time was almost considered evil. At least, I think entrepreneurship. We have so many countries in the world were socialist, and they all considered entrepreneurship to be an evil almost. You see, there's so many things which were considered evil. So it's possible for the society to change, think differently, change differently, rather than you and me just feeling, making opinions or judging ourselves or anybody else for that matter.
So, like, we always have higher expectations from our life. But I feel and I believe that whatever life throws on you and whatever opportunities you get, you should accept that wholeheartedly and you should enjoy that thing. That's the most important thing, to live your life to fullest. That's what I believe.
I would definitely agree. I mean, we only have a limited time, so you have to make every day count. And like what Jayant and Nikita, you both were saying, is that, yeah, I mean, society and yourself and what you're surrounded with definitely impacts you. But at the end of the day, you have to execute your decisions, do what you want to do, and how to go about them. And yeah, I think on a case-to-case basis, some people face a lot more external pressure or family pressure than other people do. But at the same time, it's like you can't let them run your life or influence your life. You have to make the decisions yourself. And I know that that's not necessarily easy, but it's very important. And I think knowing yourself and striving to learn more and more and just to develop yourself, I think that's required in this day and age. At least in the U.S., it's basically become a lifelong learning. You know, I may have studied one thing as my undergrad and the second thing in grad school, but now I'm learning a lot more on my own. And I think that's essential for life today.
By the way, Son advises international students, and if anybody wants to go to US colleges, you can contact Son definitely. Okay, Aridev, you got to say something.
Yeah. I would love to study some more. So probably I'll get in touch with Son.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not to go too much definite, but yeah.
Sometimes I think I'm too old to study, but then
No, don't. Okay.
Learning never stops.
Yeah, you're never too old to study. I mean, we had a gentleman come into our office back in 2019. He was 70 years old, wanting to come back to do another master's degree.
Great. I mean, learning, I know, never stops, but studying is something. Yeah. So as Nikita was saying, what I gather is that you, of course, can do things, and of course go rogue and say that I want to do such a thing, and society doesn't matter, or I'll do what I have to do. And there have been people who have been doing what they wanted to do. There was a passion for something developed at an early stage. For example, Bismillah Khan, he knew nothing, as he said, in life other than playing the Sehnai. He has been the most famous, Sehnai player in India or the rest of the world. The thing also comes that if there is a compulsion, as Tilak said, you do things out of compulsion. We know of the mountain man of India who started making roadways out of mountains. You do it. I mean, you need extraordinary strength of character to do all that. What I'm trying to say is that what will you suggest as a matter of earning new skills? In India, it is looked down upon. If even for example, going from a metropolitan city to your hometown, people will ask you, why have you come here? you say I was an advocate in the Supreme Court of India. I was working with a lawyer there. Now I want to start here. I want to build my career from down below. So they will be like, you have been to a metropolitan city, why have you come back? That is one thing. And if you want to do, for example, you want to follow your passion, even that is looked down upon. It is very hard for, as I say, ordinary people to then cross that hurdle. So any sort of advice that you have for ordinary people? I mean, not someone who does so extraordinary strength of character, but somebody very ordinary who would be who'll be bothered by society, who will somehow needs a push in life to do something great.
Tips for
or
ordinary
new skills. Yeah.
Well, extraordinary is just being ordinary.
Yeah, they will do what they have to.
Yeah, Son and Jayant.
I'll suggest to do meditation and yoga.
Great.
Yeah, I would definitely say is just learn about who you are as a person. Like take time, like meditation, yoga, that, or whatever activities or mental exercises you can do to kind of figure out who you are as a person. Because I meet so many people, they just don't have a sense of themselves, and because they don't have that, they're very much or very heavily influenced by those around them. Whereas, like, let's say someone who's has a sense of themselves, yeah, they're definitely going to be affected by those around them, but they have a much stronger mental fortitude to kind of defend themselves against that. And also, I think what both Arya and Nikita brought up is that like the U.S. and India, yeah, our cultures and societies are very different. Whereas I think in the U.S. it might be a little easier to kind of go off on your own because that's a little more, I think, built into our culture and society or societal expectations. But at the same time, you're still going to face potentially flack and other things depending on what you're doing. Whereas in India, like having been to India and having some Indian friends, I think that you can do that. But I think because there's the higher chance of facing more resistance. And I think if you get what I'm saying, I mean, just speaking from my own observation. So I think that there is a kind of there's that aspect to look at. But like my own experience at work, like for example, American students, when they apply to college, they apply to a huge spectrum of programs. We have about 100 Indian students at our university, and I would say at least 60% of them all apply to computer science. So I see applications come in, computer science. They're always going for this one thing, or maybe mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, or maybe business, but it's very much more like one or a very small area of emphasis. Whereas like with other countries, it's a little broader, and then with the U.S. students, very wide range.
Jayant, you want to add something?
Yeah, I have a different perspective. Like you see, in today's world, in this commercial world, you see, you are born, then you grow old, make money, more money. There is no limitations to make money. Then you grow old, you die. Simple. We are working as a robot. Now, what Aryadev said, coming to that point. Now, what you want to do, what makes you happy? The first question is that. Only earning money makes you happy, then you are no human. Literally, you are no human. You can be a millionaire, you can be a billionaire, but you are not a human. Apart from that, okay, so in India, when you are in a high school, after that you choose a science, commerce, arts, nothing else. You want to be a doctor, engineer, because they are paid well, because they have reputations, they are respected in the society. But you don't like sports, you don't want to go to the agriculture, or you want to start a business and entrepreneurship. So these things matters, and this have to change. And change will come from you. I want to do anything, I will do that. In this COVID times, I was doing something in Darbhanga, in my hometown. I was distributing some ration packets to the needy peoples there, and I wanted to do that. There were many obstacles. People said, why are you doing these things? It won't matter. I said, it matters to me, and I am doing that because it matters to me. And the point which Nikita told, I'm totally agree with her. Like, it matters to you more than the society. And if it matters to you and you want to make the change, you are the change yourself. This is the point. Forget about all those shitty things that people say, the society say. Don't bother about all those things. Just bother about you. Earning money at one part is important because this world work on money. But other than that, learning new skills, l- getting what you want to do is more important,
But I think
and
what
that will
Jayant
make you real happy.
I believe what Jayant is saying is that money should be the means, not an end in itself.
Right.
If this
It's
damn
not.
thing
It should not be the happiness.
let's go. Nikita, you want
It
to
should
add
not be
something?
the happiness.
No, not much. Just yeah, because see, it's easy for us like at this age to say these things that do whatever you want to do. But those people like who are in 50s and 60s, they are very much binded by the society customs and the values. So it's not easy for them to think in a way because I myself am trying to change my family and the people around me, but they are so rigid that they are not like ready to think about themselves. So like I always tell them that think about you, what makes you happy, do that. Don't think about what society is going to think about you. But no, it's difficult to change their thinking like ours. So it's easy for us, but not for the people who have like grown in that society where things were different. So yes, I can really connect to what Aridev was saying. So yeah, it's easy for us, but not for all. But they should also start thinking for themselves because when you become like not selfish, but when you start thinking about yourself, then only you can make others happy. I believe that.
No, I think that's a great point. I think that as we get older, we become, as they say, set in our ways, or very just, you kind of get into a routine and it's just repeat, repeat, and repeat. And I think that's, and I've done the same thing with my family sometimes. Hey, don't you want to try something new or this and that with certain people sometimes. And also I think as people get older, like, and especially depending on where they live, they may feel like it's more important to show off to others what I have and what I've accomplished versus what I really feel internally. And I think this is a universal situation anywhere in the world. And I've seen it here in the US, I've seen it in China, I've seen it in India. So I think that people want to give off a great impression of like, I'm successful, but at the same time, there are a lot of very rich people that are very unhappy.
One point, when we are talking about old men and the persons who are in 60s or 70s, so there should be stories to tell to your grandparents as grandchildren as well, that what you did in your life, you only earned money. You are going to tell them that, okay, I earned money, I am billionaire. Or you have a story to tell that I did these things, I did those things. You can also be a better human. So I was pointing out about future. I'm not telling that you try to change your grandparents. They have different school of thoughts, but you can at least change the future.
By the way, I think the one very important aspect that I believe today's discussion and the several discussions that we are having over the past almost 7-8 months. You see, our generation is at a very, very crucial stage of human evolution. That's my personal belief, and I believe most of us would agree that sort of thing is that if you see, we are at a stage where many things happening. Environmental changes, communities are breaking up, families are, going away. So many things happening. You have problems at the political level. You have Donald Trump in the US. There is backdoor in Myanmar. Zhou is not able to continue with us because of a technical issue, which is not just technical, it's a political issue in a way. So there are so many things happening in our generation across the world, whether we are in the Myanmar or in India or in the US, from the developing to the developed world. We have a lot of challenges. And I believe this is the time for us all to sort of get together, think in out of the box way, and somehow, do things which possibly has never been done before, and possibly we are most capable about doing it ever, right? And this is also one thing where I think when we started this ICANGOVERN initiative, there are so many questions which keep coming in. Nikita, Dev, Jayant, they're all with us in this journey, and I thank them from my heart for being part of it. through thick and thin, through all sort of ups and downs, people are hanging on, bearing with us. And it's very difficult at times. Some people ask, why the hell you are doing it? You're doing it for some political purpose. You want to do certain things. Why don't you form an NGO? Why don't you get it registered? Why don't you ask donations and all sorts of things? It's very difficult to convince people that we are trying to do something which has not been done before. I mean, we are not just trying to set up another NGO. We are not just trying to set up another political thing. We are above politics. We don't want to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with engaging with politicians. We want to engage with them, but we don't want to be limited by our own identities. We want to go beyond our limited identities. That is a very important thing, and that works definitely should not be a barrier in that.
I think the fact that all of us are in some way secure, have set jobs, that we are able to do something for the society. Once you are secure, once you are financially stable, then probably, there are people who have been following their passions irrespective of the fact whether they are secure or not. But then once you have that security, you can definitely follow your passion or learn things on the side, as they say. One example that I give is that the most famous shoemaker that I know in the world is Daniel Day-Lewis. He left movies after getting 3 Oscars, and the most famous shoemaker, because his passion was shoemaking. He left movies for that. He's making shoes somewhere in Europe. So that is one thing. I mean, of course, we should follow our passions, but security becomes a challenge where you have to fend for yourselves. So other than that, if you want to follow your passion, there are ways to do that as well. But I think our families, we ourselves expect that from us, that we should have some sort of security.
Thank you. I think we have 3 minutes left. I want quick comments from Jayant, Nikita, and Son. Please limit yourself within a minute.
If you will say my opinion, like, okay, make the balance, earn and do your things. So if you will try to achieve that equilibrium, making that balance, you will achieve anything what you want to do, or what you want to make, or what you want to be remembered for. You will be able to do that.
Nikita and Son.
I would definitely agree with you, John. It's all about balance, and that you just need to find, like you said, a balance and equilibrium to life to be able to take care of yourself, but also allow you to explore and develop. And I know there's one saying we have, it's like a person of ambition is capable of anything. If you put your mind to it and you devote the time and energy, you can accomplish it. It may take a long time. You may face troubles, but you will get there. And like what Dr. Talak was saying, yeah, we're in a great situation now where we can, as not just our generation on a global setting, can get together and discuss things. This is unavailable in the past. We need to take full advantage of that. That's why I think you're doing this, and I have my own podcast called International Immersion, where I get people from around the world. We talk about issues and everything. That's the goal, is just to spread awareness and collaboration on different things.
Yeah, it's all about being selfish and selfless at the same time. Make the balance.
Interesting.
In a nutshell, yes.
Yeah, just like stay positive and optimistic towards your life, and try to enjoy it with whatever your hobbies and whatever you love to do. Just don't restrict yourself in a very complicated routine. Just make yourself happy and people around you happy. That's it.
That's the note to end, I believe. I think as young people, we have to do whatever we want and do it with full energy, full passion, and live life to the fullest. By the way, one last thing that comes to my mind is that when we were sort of trying to find the name of I Can Govern, then we left the I, and we said that, well, that I is India for now, it's Indian Citizens Alliance for New Governance, but I can be international at any point of time as well.
And I can be you,
Yes.
anybody.
Great.
And I can, of course, by the way, we got this idea from possibly iPhone for the first time. There was this gentleman called from Apple. So Son, and I believe that once Zoe is able to listen to us, so we'll expect you to add this, make this international, not limited to India itself, and let this positivity and energy flow from us to everyone, all young people. Everybody is striving to do great work in their lives, and wish them all the best, and let's make the world a better place. So thank you guys. Thank you for this wonderful evening. And I believe I apologize to people and the listeners for some technical issue, but I hope it was worth your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. And Sean, of course.
Thank you, Son. Thank you, Jayant.
It's great to be on and great to discuss these things, because I think the more people you talk with, the more perspective you get and the more open-minded you get. And you definitely learn to think in a different way than the people around you. You're like, oh, they think about this and that. And I think hence that's my thing. Travel as much as you can, meet as many people as you can, and it'll make your life so much more complete.
Yeah, great.
Oh, great.